Okay, we've got the recording up and going. If you have questions today, please use the Q&A function. That'll help us navigate the questions better. We'll use the chat button for sharing links if we have some links to share. So this is episode, I believe, 74. So Linda, why don't you come in and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Bylander. I coordinate the Becoming Outdoor Woman program, and I have two wonderful volunteers of the BOW program joining us today. We had a little technical difficulty, so I'm not sure if Jennifer Dooms will be able to join us or not. We're hopeful. But let me introduce Jackie Lane to you first. These two women are very accomplished in the outdoors. So Jackie is not only a Becoming Outdoor Woman steering committee member and mentor for our archery hunts. She's also a field staff for Proas, which is a women's outdoor clothing company, and a member of two women-centered conservation organizations, the American Daughters of Conservation and the Minnesota's the all-women chapter of Pheasants Forever, the legendary longtails. Jennifer, when she comes in, she is the Wisconsin and Minnesota state coordinator of the Proas hunting apparel for women, along with a volunteer for our program as an archery mentor for the BOW program. She's an avid outdoors woman, spending most of her free time hunting and fishing and being outdoors. And she's also the secretary of the Lake Superior chapter of Safari Club International and a member of several other conservation organizations. Oh, yay. She is able to join us. We had quite a bit of difficulty this morning, so I'm so excited for both Jackie and Jennifer is actually on site today at one of her events, are able to join us. And again, they're wonderful BOW volunteers. They're volunteering their time for this program today. And sorry about all the technical difficulties, but I think we're ready to go. So go ahead, Jackie and Jennifer.
Hi. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay.
Here's a table of contents for our presentation today, as Linda just went over the introductions for Jennifer and myself. We'll be going over environmental factors, how to dress when it's warm and sunny, rain and windy, cold, I think will be the favorite topic of this presentation. We do have several links to share, and then we'll open it up for questions and discussions.
Awesome. Yes, as Jackie mentioned, I'm sure we'll spend a lot of time talking about cold weather, so looking forward to that.
All right. Can you see the PowerPoint, Jen?
I do.
Okay.
We're good.
Great.
So environmental factors, obviously, depending on where you live, this is going to be different for you. For me, I worry a lot about ticks and mosquitoes. I always check the weather before I go out, and if I know it's going to be a high mosquito season day, then I cover myself. I'm not one to wear shorts going through the woods, so I'll have long pants, make sure I have my permethrin. Just a little bit of that goes a long way on your fabric too, like a little bit around the cuffs of your pants or your shoes or the cuffs of your sleeves to keep them away. And Jackie's got a really nice picture here of some upland pants. These are Proas upland pants. They have that nice facing on them so that if you're walking through burrs and thorns and things like that, you don't get your legs all tore up as well. Is there anything we were going to mention here that I didn't mention, Jackie?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just to really be aware of the weather and what kind of environment that you're going to be heading into so that you're fully prepared.
Absolutely.
Warm and sunny.
Warm and sunny. So a lot of people when you think of warm and sunny, you think of like less clothing or cooler clothing and things like that. But when we're hunting and fishing and spending a lot of time hiking and doing outdoor things, sometimes that's not the best option. So sometimes covering up is still the best option for us. And you can do that and still stay cool. And this is how. You can use synthetic fabrics like the moisture wicking, dry fit type material. If you look on her slide here where it says UV protection and ultralight, there are lots of good options now that are like UV protection clothing. So they have that moisture wicking, breathable, but they're also protecting you from the sun. And if you look down, natural versus synthetic, I'm actually wearing today, I'm wearing merino wool. I don't know if you can see. Merino wool is actually still my go-to for either hot or cold because it is antimicrobial, moisture wicking, and it actually cools you in the summertime, and as well as keeps you insulated in the winter, which we'll talk about for cold weather. But natural fibers actually work a lot better than synthetic fibers for these purposes. So if you have a merino wool, I would suggest trying it sometime in the heat. I actually prefer it than the polyester dry fit type fabrics. And some of them offer UV protection as well. Just check your tags. Oh, Jackie, do you want to talk about the neck gaiters? Because this is a good tip that you brought up.
Yeah. Neck gaiters are great for wicking away moisture. You know, you can wear them around your neck, or even by wetting it, you can put it up onto your head as a headband, or to keep your hair out of your face or whatever. So that's something that I kind of go to a lot in the summer for that purpose. It's just one of those go-to things, and they're small. You can just stick it in your pocket and have it with you wherever you go.
Absolutely.
Rain and wind.
Rain and wind. What I like to mention specifically when we talk about rain and wind is there's a huge difference between waterproof and water resistant. And there are a lot of good clothes out there that are water resistant. And basically what that means is the droplets are going to kind of wick away, fall off the garments, things like that. But in a heavy rain or heavy weather, you're going to get wet. It's not waterproof. So being waterproof is important if you're going to spend a lot of time outside in the rain. So let's say you have a trip coming up and it's weather doesn't matter. You're going to be out there no matter what. Jackie and I have hunted pheasants like that before, where
Oh,
it's
yes.
pouring, it's pouring rain, and we're still going to hunt. So knowing the difference and having both is important, because water resistant can be very versatile for many different things. But then if you're in a downpour, you want waterproof. And waterproof for hunting there's also another factor to it, which is why it's important to look at the fabrics and try it on and see how thick it is, because there's also the breathability factor. You don't want anything that's like super hot, that doesn't breathe. Think like rubber, think like plastic bag type stuff. So there's a lot of good stuff out there that's breathable. So no matter what you're doing, you can still hike up the mountain, you can still walk through the pheasant fields and stay dry, but also not be like overheating either. So she's got some good points on this PowerPoint here. Zippers can be waterproof, like the way they stitch down the zippers. A lot of waterproof gear is windproof. Windproofing is super important especially if you're hunting more out west where things are more flat and we don't have all those trees like we do here in the Midwest to help break the wind from us. So windproof is important. So you also want to think about that brushed type of a fabric. Anything that has a little bit of texture to it on that fabric is going to give you some wind resistance. So for example, think of like your thin, anything that's like super thin or micro fleece, the wind's going to go through it. But if you have like a facing to it or a little brushed fleece, that wind is going to be stopped a little bit more. a lot of good rain gear is also kind of thin and breathable, so it's easy to pack too. I like that you put that in the slide too, because
Yes.
yeah, like whenever possible, I always throw a rain jacket in my pack because you just never know.
Yeah. The weather can happen at any time. I think we may have
Jacket in
lost.
there, and yeah, and you just throw that one. Go ahead.
Oh, you had just cut out for a second, so you're back.
Oh, I was just saying, like, that one jacket can like help save a hunt because it's waterproof and windproof. So
Mhm. Yep, and it's so easy. I personally will take my rain gear and I roll it up and I just stick a rubber
hmm
band around it, and it
hmm
fits really easily into
yeah,
my pack.
absolutely, absolutely.
So living in Minnesota, we face cold environment quite a bit. So
Yeah.
this is going to probably be the highlight of our presentation.
Yes.
Jennifer and I go back all the time, be like, oh my gosh, my feet are so cold. What are you doing to keep your feet warm? You know, we
Yeah.
always share tips. So we met and we collaborated and put all of our like best ideas here for you
Yes.
guys to share with you. So hopefully so you guys
Yes.
can walk away with something that will help you stay warm.
Yes. The first the first thing that I want to talk about would be the base layers because I think that's where you start. If you mess up in your base layers or you don't have the right fabrics or the right fit, you're setting yourself up for failure. So having a good base is important. And I'm going to go back to what I said when we're talking about the UV protection. That's those dry fits or shirts are really good, but sometimes the natural fabrics are a better choice. And here is where I would 100% never do a synthetic fabric when I'm cold. So silk is a good one. Merino wool is probably my favorite. So when I say synthetic versus natural, look at your tags. If you see anything that's like polyester, that's synthetic. If you see cotton, merino wool, silk, those are more natural fibers. And I'm just hoping that I can cover all the levels of knowledge here. So I'm not trying to. If you already know that, that's great. But I'm just trying to incorporate everybody here if you didn't know that. And it's important that base layers also fit well. If your base layers should fit you close to the body so that it locks in that core heat, and it also has that chance to wick away the moisture from your body if you do start to sweat a little bit when you're walking in. So if your base layers are super baggy and don't fit you right, or it's time for a new set because it's not going to help you out. If you need to pinch pennies as far as like something is too big or too small, I'd rather that be like an outer layer that you uh, kind of, pin and belt to fit you, because don't skimp on those base layers. You're going to regret it because it's not going to keep you as warm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then once you have a proper base layer, then you have to start insulating. And down is a really good insulator. It is a natural fabric, so that's helpful. Here, here is where you could use a synthetic puffy vest and it would still help keep that core warmth. Um, I prefer down just because I like I like the lightness of it and the packability of it. You can kind of crunch it all down and it packs in your pack. But you could use a synthetic, like puffy insulated vest. So I would do that next as far as layering.
And
Um,
there are even battery operated heated vests out there for those who are out in the very late season in the Minnesota winter.
yes. Yes, and we're getting more and more of those options. There's heated jackets, there's heated um, gloves, and I honestly won't hunt in below, I would say like 35 degrees if I'm sitting. If I'm walking, it's different, but if I'm sitting, I won't hunt in below that without my heated socks. And heated socks don't you're not going to feel fire. You're not going to feel like super hot. Your feet aren't going to sweat. But what it does is it takes a layer of that edge off of the cold so that when you're out there, you're not thinking about your feet at all. Like doesn't even cross your mind. So it takes the edge off a little bit. Heated vest, if I'm sitting in a tree stand and it's 35, 40 degrees, I'm probably going to have my heated vest on because that wind is coming at you from all spots. And everything is about core warmth. So those heated products are right next to your core so that you're keeping that all warm. The first thing to get cold is always going to be your fingers and toes because your body's going to pull that heat to your core. So heated socks are a good thing. There's a lot of good products out there. We have linked a few of our favorite heated products at the end of this webinar. If you are thinking, boy, I really want some heated socks. Jackie and I have been wearing this brand for like a couple of years now, and we love them. So we linked that for you.
Yeah.
Um,
I think just kind of circling back, Jennifer, we kind of squirreled away after the down layer because we got excited about all the heated
yeah,
technology out there now.
yeah.
So
Bring me back.
after putting on that down layer, then what's your next go-to?
Okay. So then it would depend on how much you need for warmth. Basically, if it's like early season and it's warmer, then you could just do like your light layers, maybe a hoodie, maybe a windproof / waterproof jacket, something like that. But for cold weather, I'm going to do more insulated things at this point. So I would do either a brushed fleece insulated type pant or actual bibs because that kind of helps keep that core warmth because it brings that fabric up higher on you so you're actually keeping more warm. And then in the later season, I'm going to choose a jacket that's insulated either with like Primaloft or something like that for warmth and a hood for sure. Not all hunting gear has hoods, and a lot of that is geared to more walking and more like spot and stock. You don't need that hood. And also when you're walking, you need your ears more a little bit. You're listening, you're constantly moving. And so a lot of times we don't see a lot of gear with hoods on it, and that might be the reason. So don't get frustrated by that. There is some out there with hoods, and that's going to be geared more for those of us who are sitting for long periods of time because we need more of that cover and protection. So that's where I would go. So far, I would do some heated socks. I would do a natural base layer like merino wool, maybe a heated vest or a down vest, depending on how cold you are. And then either a lightweight cover, like a light jacket, lightweight pants, which are not insulated. Or if it's super cold, I would change all that out for insulated, maybe some bibs, maybe a Maloft insulated jacket with like a hood so that I have more warmth.
I do want to add one thing in regards to like wool socks.
Yes.
Check the percentage of the wool on the tag because if you grab this wool sock, it could be 7% wool, or this wool sock where it could be 80%. So the higher the percentage of wool, the warmer it'll be. It's just my helpful tip for that.
That's a great tip, and we haven't talked about wool socks in specific because we were talking about the heated socks, but again, this is where I would choose natural fabrics. Lots of hunting socks out there are blend, so like poly blend, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I encourage you to try a 100% natural fiber. I like the alpaca wool socks. They're super soft. So check the label, like Jackie said, really start label looking and start looking at the fabrics and the content and what it's made out of. And I think your feet are going to be a lot warmer, and not only warmer, but again with the moisture wicking. If you have polyester on your feet and your feet sweat a little bit, you're done because they're not going to dry the way a natural fabric will. And I don't know about you, but if your feet have ever sweat and then it's just like super cold, it's awful. It's like miserable. So natural fabrics are your friends for sure on that.
Yes.
Go ahead. So hats and gloves. Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
there's lots of options for hats and gloves. If you just want to go back to that really quick.
Sorry.
That's okay. There are so many different options for gloves. Depending on what you're doing, if you're sitting, you might want to go with a mitt because a mitt will keep your hand warmer. Obviously, if you're hunting and you're walking around, you're going to want trigger availability, so you're going to want gloves. But there's so many different options, and there's even like glove liners. So they're made of like the merino wool or things like that. So you can put that like in your mitt and you could even stay extra warm. We can just go back to those neck gaiters that Jackie was using to cool herself. They're super great for wind protection and in the cold weather, just to keep that wind off your face. Just you pull that neck gaiter up, things like that. So yeah, that's definitely there's so many options there. And they're making different sizes now too. So those of us as women, we don't have, the big size extra large man hands. Well, some of us do, and that's okay. But some of us have smaller hands, and so they're making them in all different sizes now. So I think the one of the coolest things about what we're talking about is that there are so many options right now for women, whereas like 10 years ago or so, we had nothing. And so all the stuff I'm talking to you about is available like in a woman's clothing line or in women specific. So everything we just talked about. And if we did this webinar 10 years ago, nah, we'd be trying to find boys and men's and all that kind of stuff. So there's options now. And so you don't have to be cold. You don't have to be wet. You don't have to be miserable outside. And I think Jackie and I can attest to that. Like we've been there where we've been miserable and we're getting to this point where it's like, okay, now we have gear that like works.
Right. I haven't been as comfortable as I have been in the outdoors as I have been in the last couple of years. So just a testament to what Jennifer had said about the different women lines out there that are just tailoring specific to women. It's great. It's amazing. It's very exciting for us, for people
Yeah,
for being women of the outdoors.
exactly. And just having that option of like, this was specifically designed for women hunters in mind, not just women in mind. Keep that in mind too. It's not just like women, like, which was the old adage of let's just shrink it and pink it. This is actually gear that is designed for women who are doing these things. And so the women who are designing them and the people designing them, not just women, there are some good companies out there that have men designing for women's lines. They get it and they're like, this is what we need. So we're in a really cool time in like purchasing hunting if you're looking to purchase hunter gear.
Here, Jennifer and I just put together a list of our favorite items that we've mentioned in this presentation today. I think the links will be going out for everybody to obtain. Jennifer did a really nice YouTube video, that first link on the top, on how to layer. So I recommend taking a peek at that. As we have previously mentioned, Jennifer and I are both part of PROIS, and there's the PROIS webpage for everyone to check out if you wish to. The alpaca wool socks, Jennifer turned me on to those several years ago, and I love them. Highly recommended, especially in that cold Minnesota winter that we all endure. There's several different heated vests out there on the market. Jennifer's favorite one that she also suggested to me is in that link there.
Mm-hmm.
The snow deer heated socks are the ones that we mentioned previously. We found them on Amazon. The specific link for them was like a page long, so I did not include that. Just go to Amazon and search snow deer heated socks. I did put a little clip it of the picture of them
Yeah,
that you
perfect.
will see on Amazon. So if you see that icon, you got the right one.
I believe Jackie found those snow deer heated socks, and that is like the bomb, you guys. She found a gold item there, so check them
Lifesaver.
out. Check them out.
Yes. Yes. Um, and then again, you know, for out in the warmer weather, you know, be aware of the mosquitoes and the ticks. So protect yourself from those things as well. Um, I'm a huge believer of the thermocell. I think they work great. I go camping on the Canadian border in the summer, and I just set a perimeter of these thermocells around our campsite, and we are bug free. So I really would suggest those too. And there's portable ones, you know, they can just clip onto your belt loop too. I've used them in the September woods as well. It works for mosquitoes and like the really small little biting flies. So, and then Jennifer and I both provided our email addresses there. If anyone wants to reach out to us afterwards with questions, feel free to do so. We're more than happy to answer more questions if you don't feel like asking them in this webinar.
Yes, absolutely. Please reach out. I will answer your questions as soon as I get them. So please utilize that email address. Do we want to open for questions?
Sure. So we have a question here. And first of all, thank you very much. I want to say that silk base layer, I went to that, and that is just a game changer. We're so used to
Hey.
cotton and those kind of items. And we run the Women's Outdoor Skills Program, and a lot of people come and wear jeans at the program. And if they get wet, they get wet all day. So that base layer of silk is great, and fleece is great. Cotton jeans are not great especially when it's raining. So thank you for that tip. So a question, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A. We have one question right now that I can see. How do you keep your fingers from not freezing while still being able to shoot your gun properly? And I know I have that issue too. My hands get so cold, but you still need your hands to shoot. Gloves are kind of bulky. What do you guys do?
I use a glove liner like Jennifer had mentioned before. And if I have like a mitt, I will also can put like a heater, one of those little packets into my glove to keep my hands warm. Otherwise, I forget what they're called, but it's just like a fabric, like a
A
round
muff.
tube that you slip your hands into. And you don't even really need to wear gloves in them. If you just keep them in there, and then if and when needed, you can take your hands out and your hands are, you know, should stay warm. So those are my tips. Jennifer, do you have anything else?
Yep. So building on that, yep, the muff is a really good idea. They usually just wear like at your waist, and you can put your hands and put a bunch of hot hands in there, all those little
Yep.
hot hands packs. What I do is I'm right-handed, so I usually have a glove liner on this hand, which, so those of you who don't know what we're talking about with glove liners is they're super thin, super thin. The ones that Jackie and I wear are merino wool. Again, they're natural fibers. Um, and they're thin enough that you could actually put like another glove on if you had to, but I'll use that on this hand. And then I usually tuck it in my pocket with a hot hand. And then on this hand, my left hand, I'll usually have a heavier insulated mitt or insulated glove with probably a hot hand in there if I can pack one in. That way I can like be holding something, or if I'm bow hunting, this is my traditional bow hunting stance, is I'll have that holding my bow and my trigger hand in with a hot hand so that all I have to do is take my hand out. And because I, like a lot of you, I have like that condition where like if my hands get so cold, I lose like the feeling and stuff. And so I'm always thinking about these things too. So I think hot hands are kind of my go-to. And and knowing that I only need the one hand and keeping this one all, you know, bundled up somewhere else. So does that help? Hopefully.
Sure. I don't think there's any other questions. Benji or Craig, do you see any questions on your end that I can't see?
Kim asked the same question in chat, and you guys covered that good. And you guys hit on this stuff wonderfully. I mean, there were so many good tips on staying warm, staying dry. And if you can master those things, you're going to be able to spend a lot more time in the field.
Absolutely.
I didn't see any other questions either. I just want to, as a guy that grew up in Minnesota and loving the outdoors and did a lot of winter camping and stuff, and then I moved to the home of Proas out there in Gunnison, Colorado, which is one of the coldest spots in the country. So they know what they're talking about. I love it out there. But I would second that merino wool thing. When I discovered that 10 some years ago, I absolutely love it. It is expensive, but just investing in a base layer of that, it seems to last forever. So I absolutely love that stuff. So
I
did
think go ahead.
I was going to say, I did have a question on, so I now as a dad with two young daughters, having this stuff in a women's cut, especially for smaller girls mine are 13 now, but is awesome because the fit is super important, especially in some of those base layers.
Mhm.
But I get this tug of war thing from the winter camping side. I never wanted heat packs. I never wanted like an electric vest or something like that. I actually I bought one for my wife a couple years ago from Proas, and she absolutely loves it. And I think they're fantastic for if you're going out for a shorter period of time. I always get nervous when people are going on a 2-day ice fishing trip and they're relying on that battery powered vest, and it becomes this false sense of security. So
No.
that's just my 2 cents on it, and I absolutely love them for going out for a morning hunt or something like that. They're fantastic.
Yeah. Two quick things. 100% agree with you that these items should be used to take the edge off at like the last light or something, or you know, if you're doing a morning hunt, it takes the edge off like before the sun comes up or something like that. These things aren't meant to, you know, they're not designed to be worn for 20 hours or something like that. And yeah, I would not rely on them, but they're just like added components that help to take the edge off. Yeah. And I wanted to mention what you had said about merino wool being a little bit on the more expensive side and things like that. That's one other thing to keep in mind, that if this is something that you spend a lot of time doing, maybe not now, but maybe in the future, you spend more time doing it, you have to start thinking of it as an investment to your own, I don't know if it's a word, but comfortability. Because if you are going to spend a lot of time doing this, you have to have the right stuff, and it's an investment. The stuff that I have that I use, I've been wearing for 4 seasons now. So it's not going to wear out tomorrow either. So I'm going to get years out of this one. I'm pretty sure this merino shirt that I'm wearing, I'm pretty sure I've had this for 3 years. So they're investments and they will last.
Mhm.
So.
And Jennifer wears that shirt all the time, so I can vouch for that.
You know, that's
it's
another
quality.
point. You don't need like 10 merino wool shirts. You can just have that go-to shirt. I have my go-to cross-country ski outfit, and so I do the same thing every year because it works well. We did get some more questions in here. First,
Okay.
Lynn asked if this is going to be emailed out to people. This recording will be on our website probably within a week. And you can take a picture right now of all these links that Jennifer and Jackie posted. And they're also in the chat that you can go right to those. Another question, can you talk about what type of shoes, boots, keep your feet warm? So the actual boot over the sock. There's probably 2 different,
Okay.
you know, you got your fall hunting, you got fall hikes,
Yep.
then you also have your winter.
Yep. So that's going to be based on like the very first slide that we talked about is knowing what weather you're going into, knowing what the temperature is going to be. So anything, so just in my experience, anything for me over like 45, 50 degrees, I'm just going to throw my hiking boots on, and I'm probably going to wear, I have, so my non-cold weather socks are charcoal infused socks. They're like a thin cotton and they're charcoal infused. So they, what that does is it just brings the odor down. So like if you're on a week-long hunt, you can wear the same socks every day because the odor is controlled. And then if it gets colder, then we go to the alpaca wool or the heated socks. And then my personal favorite that I've been wearing for a couple of seasons now are they're insulated, tall rubber type boots. Mine are 1,000-gram insulated. I think they're lacrosse boots. And I can sit all day in those. They're nice and warm.
Yes.
If you're, go ahead.
I have the Kamek brand of the same type of boot, the tall. They're kind of like rubber wader type boots, but they're insulated. And they're great. They're very warm. They're very light. They're comfortable. And then I also have a different set of boots for when it gets really, really cold. I have a removable liner. I forget how thick it was, but it's pretty thick, the liner. And again, those are another Kamek brand of like a pack boot, I believe.
Yes.
And along with the same socks that Jennifer is describing too.
Okay, the next question, do you wear other socks, wool socks, or you just need the heated socks to keep your feet warm?
When I
Yeah.
wear the battery operated heated socks, I wear a thin pair of, they're actually like my old work socks, like so like a dress sock, just to have that extra layer inside. If I'm not wearing the heated, like the battery operated heated socks, I think it really just depends on what I'm doing and how cold it is. If I'm going to be moving around, my feet personally like sweat all the time. So I like to wear it on the lighter side, something that's moisture wicking and whatnot. If it's cold, I will actually bring extra sets of socks with me and change, because just from walking from, point A to like the deer stand, my feet sweat. So I'll change my socks out so that when I'm sitting there, I'm in dry socks.
Yep. I pretty much do the same. If I'm wearing like my alpaca wool, I might wear a thin sock underneath it, but I usually don't. I usually wear the socks underneath for the heated socks because it's more of I'm a little bit worried about having the wires right next to my skin, so I wear like a really thin layer just so there's no burns. There has never been, but it's just my own like brain wanting to do that. Otherwise, like the wool socks, if you have a good insulated pair of boots, you probably don't need too many different layers. Hot hands and foot warmer type things don't typically work because they need a little bit of air to actually keep the heat going in those things. So that's why those foot warmer type things don't ever feel like they work, because they're probably not working. So you'd probably be better off doing some of the things that we just talked about.
Oh, that's a good tip. I didn't know that about the foot things.
Yeah, they're such a good idea, but yeah.
Yeah. Another question is, depending on wind direction, the back of my upper arms get cold in my deer stand. I'm guessing I'm just incorrectly layering rather than needing to plaster myself with body warmers. Any suggestions?
I also have that problem. There's a reason for it. It's because your body's pulling all of its heat to the core to keep you warm. That's why like your fingers start to get cold. And for me, my upper arms get cold too. Ways around it. Yes, you can do more layers, or once you've insulated, you can do more hoodie type fleece layers or like a fleece jacket before you put your other jacket on. Those stick-on body warmers work a little bit too. I wouldn't discount that. That's a great idea. Unfortunately, that I also sometimes have that problem if it's really windy. But if my core is warmer, if my heated vest is on, like it pulls that chill away. So, Jackie, do you have any?
Uh, I guess for like maybe the outer layer to have something that's windproof.
Yeah.
And then with the really good insulation layers inside, it'll help also keep the warmth inside too.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, Lisa says she wears her foot warmers on top of her feet, not on the bottom. She must have more space in her boots there.
Yeah, if there's some space where like maybe there's air getting through the laces, like maybe the tongue isn't completely woven so that maybe there's some air getting through, maybe that works for her. That's great. That's a great idea. You can try that. Most of my shoes are made where there just wouldn't be any air getting through, so that's why I say that. But hey, if you found something that works, that's great. So try them on top. Try them on top.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, I don't see any other, wait, hold on. There is one more question. Is there a cold weather layering combination that you have found is ideal that still allows range of motion? For shooting, range of motion for shooting.
Check out Jennifer's YouTube video.
Yeah. Um, is it Kimberly? Can she respond? Are you specifically asking for archery or shooting? Because shooting in general, I don't ever have a problem with. I feel like getting a gun up on a stick or getting a gun up on your shoulder, I don't typically have a problem, but for archery, I get that. I get that sometimes it's just awkward to be pulling your bow back when you've got tons and tons of layers. So properly layering means that you can use the least amount possible that are the most effective. So you might want to try a thinner fleece line jacket instead of like a big heavy, insulated jacket, and then layer under that properly. Honestly, I can get like 4 layers under my fleece. It's the Tory jacket that I wear. It's like this. It's a thin fleece that's water resistant and windproof, and I can get like 3 or 4 layers under that, and that's easier to shoot with than like the heavy Primaloft puffy, big winter jacket. So if you can layer under something, you should be able to shoot better. Does that help?
Yeah, she says she bird hunts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so then I would think about that. I would think about the thinner fleece lined options instead of like those really heavy, bulky type jackets, and then put a vest on underneath it or put like, a couple layers underneath it, because you should be able to get your shotgun up on that.
I agree.
Kathy Feathers says she cheats with the Thermacare patches too. The back ones keep her core warm. So that's a good tip for people.
Yeah, they do work. They do work. I love my hot hands for the pockets for my fingers. So if that works, that's a great idea.
I think those are all the questions. I don't see anything else, but I want to let the women know out there the contact information for Jackie and Jennifer is right there. Both of these women are mentors for our archery deer hunt and archery turkey hunt. It's a program that Becoming Outdoor Woman offers yearly. Our turkey hunt's in May and our deer hunt is coming up in a couple weeks. It's already full. Both of those are filled, but they're great mentors. Also, they're part of the Legendary Longtails. If you want to know more about those programs, reach out to these women. They love to share their knowledge and invite you to their organizations out there. And I know Jennifer is also part of Safari Club International. That's been very helpful with our archery hunts as well. So definitely take a picture of this screen here if you want to contact them in the future. If there's no other questions, anything else you'd like to add? Otherwise, I want to thank you for taking your time today to volunteer to do this program. And I know for one, I'll be watching your How to Layer YouTube video, Jennifer. So anything else? Otherwise, we can say goodbye unless Benji or Craig saw something I didn't.
I just want to say thanks to everyone who tuned in, and just like Linda said, please feel free to reach out. I I would love nothing more than to help make your hunt more comfortable or more enjoyable for you, because getting more women out there is really important. So I want to keep you out there.
Yes, and I want to thank everyone as well. Please reach out to Jennifer and I. We can get together and go hang out in the woods together. So we do that all the time. So we open our doors to everybody and all skill levels. So we'd like to see you out there too.
And you'll also see Jackie and Jennifer at some of our workshops. We have our fall workshop for women. It's full, 70 women coming up this weekend, but our winter workshop will be coming up the third weekend in January. So if you are new to all this and want to learn these kind of skills, feel free to sign up for the winter workshop. That'll be advertised probably in late October. So again, thank you very much, Jackie and Jennifer.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us. And I hope to see you guys all next week for our next presentation.
Got one quick question that popped into the chat.
Okay.
Michael has an old wool beanie that needs to be replaced and having hard time finding all wool knit hats anymore. Do you have any recommendations on where to find something like this?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I have not seen an all wool hat, so maybe that is a difficult thing to find. I would check I would check like any of the sock companies, like for example, this alpaca wool sock company that we have listed here. I would check like a company like that and see if you don't see it like on their website, I would reach out to their customer service and say, hey, I'm looking for a wool hat. Where do I, because these people network in that community of where they get their wool fabrics and who makes them. So maybe they could help you with that. It might be a good place to start.
Great.
Good advice. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. I forgot what's coming up already. Linda, do you know?
I do not, sorry.
Check the schedule. It's out.
It's grouse hunting next week.
Oh, okay. I'm doing grouse hunting next week.
Great.
All right, guys, take care. We'll meet on the other side here.
Thank
Bye.
you.